Hey, it's Anastasia once again, and welcome to our final fourth webinar on intentional communities. It's one of my most favorite subjects and it's really getting me excited. Cheers to the new intentional eco-villages of the future. Ooh, garden greens, gotta love them. Just to do a quick recap, in the first video we went into how to heat and cool your home using natural phenomena, sun, shade, wind, so you can heat your home and cool your home for absolutely free using natural energy. In the second webinar, I took you all the way to Russia, to the dolmens and power spots. We discussed the geopathic stress, which is the harmful effects coming out of the earth, believe it or not, as well as electromagnetic radiation. We also discussed the power spots and how we can harness them. There was a bit of information that I brought down from these power spots. In the third webinar, I took you on a journey through the energy of shape and how various shapes such as pyramids and domes affect our living environment, our health, and our just whole thoughts and being, and also as well as how the straight corners, what they do to us, and how the diseases can stagnate in 90-degree corners. So if you haven't watched those webinars, the links are above. They will be available for a very limited period of time, so please do watch them. The information I presented in those modules, in those tutorials, is building up so you can understand what I'm talking about in today's session. So it is these very set of 10 little books written by Vladimir Megre, inspired by Anastasia. I don't even know how to describe her, but she stays out there in Siberia, and I think she has more of an effect on our planet than any president, than all presidents combined. But you'll understand what I mean as I tell you this phrase. This little set of books has inspired over 550 eco-villages, these particular kin domain, 1 hectare per family kin domain eco-villages just in Russia alone. It's phenomenal. In the last 10 years, it's been turning the entire country of Russia into this massive eco-village. It's mind-blowing. And just imagine for a second how you would feel if you would stay on your own land, and the land, $10,000, you could buy a beautiful piece of land in the community already. Your home, you can build a home for under $10,000, as we have already proven with these eco technologies and dome-like structures, because they use very minimal material. So literally for 20,000 US, which is a price of a, you know, an okay car, you know, nothing fancy, it's nothing that we can't save up. But for a price of $20,000, you've got your land and you've got your home built with its own solar panels, its own pump to get the grey water moving, and you actually, like, pretty much you got your base set. Imagine the feeling. You do not have that monthly bank hacking at you for the monthly repayments. You basically can start really like investing your time with your children into the land, into what's really important. And what's really important is that we create beautiful heaven on earth. It is not important that we get a job in a planet that's about to pack up and wipe out 8 billion people in the next 100 years. It's really not that important. Things are changing. Our values are changing. Our planet is screaming at us, saying, guys, you have gone on a wrong path, come back. That's not what you came to earth to do. So the earth is pulling us to grow fruit trees and just be beyond food. We want to be of service to each other. We want to contemplate life. We want to take the time to really think, why is it we're here? What is our vision? What is our mission? How can we serve our humanity? How can we serve our planet? You know, and only when your home and the land, the basics are covered and paid off, and nobody's running after you with the fear of your home or your land, your ground base, your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your bottom of the pyramid, your most precious base. Nobody's hacking at you and threatening you that it will be taken away should you lose your job, or should you stop paying the bond, or whatever the case may be. It's paid off and it's yours. And I want just all of us to take a deep breath and feel that feeling with your home and your land belonging to you and your family in all perpetuity for the rest of your life. Just imagine that feeling. Imagine the beautiful flowers and the birds and everything you will create to make this place the most magnificent paradise on the earth. your piece of paradise with your home that's completely debt-free, that's built by your hands and those hands of your loved one. Your energy, your love has gone into construction of this home and growing of your own food. It's a game changer, and that's what I want you to contemplate. So what are intentional communities? Well, it's important to start right in the beginning. You need to understand that we did not come from apes. We were highly intelligent, advanced civilizations that built Egypt and beyond. They were able to perform an entire array of incredible tasks, all using biology versus technology. The story about that we came from apes and we really evolved from these baboons is a totally bullshit story, excuse my language, that is supported very much with the whole scientific world. And you must just understand that the scientific world is responsible on a mass scale for development of a nuclear bomb, as well as 99% of all the chemicals that are literally killing the planet and our human race, our lungs, and the whole biological world. They're destroying it. So I wouldn't be too closely linked with the science world. It's important to take from them, but it's also important to acknowledge that we do have the right hemisphere of the brain, the feminine side, the memory, and we need to start awakening that side of ourselves to bring balance into the current planetary affairs so we could thrive as a human race. So a long time ago, we lived in these intentional communities. The land was divided up into these 1 hectare plots, obviously surrounded by the wilderness and the wild forests, and where the wild animals could roam and be protected. But in between all of this nature, there were pockets of these villages, very advanced, very sophisticated, very thriving and joyful villages, and they consisted of these 1 hectare plots, roughly 1.3 hectare plots. The reason for the size of 1 to 1.3 hectare is because, well, first of all, it's not very big. If you think about it, it's 100 by 100 meters. If you go any smaller, such as, let's say, this garden, I'm not able to grow all of my food, my fish, my fruits, my wheat, and whatever else I consume. I'm just not able to do it on this small piece of land. Sure, I can grow a lot of wheat grass and a lot of maybe vegetables, but as far as other things go, such as food forests, and we do need a little bit more space. And a hectare just seems to be that optimal size. You don't see your neighbors. It's 100 by 100 meters. You are surrounded by this pocket of wilderness that you design from scratch. You sketch it out. You spend the whole year planning your land with your loved one or your children, and you see where the wind comes from, where the rain comes from, where the floods come from, where the snow comes from, and then you mark all of that on your paper, or in the olden days they might have used a wooden plate, and you really take note of all the natural phenomena that's hammering you from all directions. And you wouldn't build much in the first year. It would be just a little hut, and then you would take note of all these natural phenomena that would come around all the way from the earth and the sky and so on. And then you would have a really concrete plan where the wind comes from, where the floods come from, and only then would you start positioning. After observing the sun angles, you'd position your home where to get the sunlight, so the sunlight comes maximum into the room. So that art has been long forgotten, and hence we're sitting with dwellings that are very expensive. Literally, you've got to pay them off for 25 years, and a lot of these dwellings are boiling inside, boiling. Second story upstairs, if you don't have an aircon, forget it. I mean, I just spoke to one of my friends from Fruits and Roots, and he owns one of these fancy houses, and he has to sleep downstairs because upstairs is just gruesome. So this art of observation is really, there's something to that, and I want you to really take note. Why they did this 1 hectare, that you were able to bring your whole kin, your whole ancestral line. So as you plant a row of trees or an orchard of fruit trees, you would ask for all your ancestors from your father's line and from your mother's line to ground themselves in this orchard, and that way every time you would eat an apple, you would automatically think of them. You don't even need to think of them because they are there. The spirit of your ancestors is in that orchard. So when you walk around or sit next to the tree, you're connecting to your whole ancestral line, to your kin. So in Russia, these are called kin domains, K-I-N. It's your whole family ancestral line that you're actually bringing down onto the land. And another reason for the hectare is because you plant some wild trees, such as you can harvest for timber in the future to build future homes or benches or whatever you might need. And then you'd obviously have your food forest, you'd have your vegetable garden, you'd have a nice field where you might have a couple of animals and beehives which were further away from the house. So you're all safe and you've got this pocket, a pocket of heaven. And I'm going to be straightforward because that's what it is. If you look at Russian videos, and I'll be showing you some of this right away, is these amazing food forest and wilderness garden that's surrounding you, that's just bearing plentiful of fruit. And because there's so much fruit and so much biodiversity, the things like fruit fly and other bugs are not hammering your vegetables because there is a great biodiversity. There are herbs that protect and give quite strong scent, such as marigolds and rue and mints and sage. Loads of herbs. There's about 300 to 500 varieties of different herbs, and most of them are medicine and culinary herbs. And then of course there is about 300 varieties of fruit and nut trees. So you can just imagine the abundance that you would create. And as brought down by Anastasia, written by Vladimir Megre, this phenomenal set of books. If you haven't read it, I strongly recommend. It's going to change your life. And what she brings down basically ancient Vedic wisdom that we have long forgotten of how we used to be. A lot of powerful truth, I would say, a truth that I resonate with, and a lot of people around the world who have read the books do resonate with. So what she says is that in the ancient days, if you would die, you would get buried on your land. Your children, your family would put an apple tree or scatter some flowers over your grave, no concrete stones, because they wanted to remember you by the living things. It could have been your favorite tree that you always loved. And as your children would walk around the land, they would say, oh, Daddy was such a great man. Look at the apple tree he planted for us. Look at the peach tree Daddy planted for us. So as they eat the peaches, they really send good wishes and humble respects towards their own dad. And with these wishes, they call the soul back. And then what happens is 2, 3, 4, 5 generations later, a little girl comes out, gets born on the land, not in some hospital with a cesarean cut out. She gets born on the land, and the little girl is walking on the land, and she comes to Granddaddy. She's about 9 years old now. Granddaddy, why does that house look so familiar? And Granddad, of course, knows this knowledge and pats her on the back and it says, welcome back, sister. You have built it yourself. With your hands, you have constructed this house. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps all over. I cannot explain to you the happiness that brings. Imagine just for a second that this girl now comes back, this soul, with memory that she has created this house and she's starting to remember. Now she's surrounded by, there's a couple of houses on this hectare of land, and there's maybe a second hectare next to it with the great-grandchildren who are staying there. The houses are built, the vegetables are like galore. You don't even need to work with it. They're self-seeding themselves. Maybe at an hour a day, all your food is grown at an hour a day. That's how long we take in traffic, okay, to go and buy food. At an hour a day, all your food is grown per person, and more than enough. In fact, you're having such an excess, you're probably selling $20,000 a year just of fruits and nuts. But that's not diverse from the story. I just want to share with you the excitement. This little girl, the little soul comes back, and she's surrounded by a 300 variety, 200-year-old food forest garden. There's wild trees, there is forest all around, there is timber trees, there's vegetables, there's beehives, there is honey, there is alles. Everything you need is there, created for you. And as you come into this world, you don't have worry of debt, you don't have worry of job or any of that crap, excuse me, but just bullshit. You don't have any of that on your mind, because now you get asked a question from yourself. What would you like to be in your life? No worries about debt, job, food, None of that. Shelter, it's all constructed. Unless you want a separate shelter, you build yourself a little home and your family and your community comes together and helps you. But really, you can be the creator. You can start to contemplate the real meaning of life. You can start to contemplate of what your vision is and why you got born into this earth. And you really spend time in meditation and doing whatever you want, because you do not have this whip behind you of the monthly bond repayments, food repayments, school repayments, shop repayments, clothes account repayments. It's like, wow, you come back and you can be the real goddess, the real God, the child of God that we are all designed to be by our Creator. Imagine the feeling. Not only that, it gets really better. Now you're surrounded by a community of like-minded friends that all believe and know the same thing. So you have within 100 meters, you have a family there that's probably a very close-knitted friends. You've got 100 meters, you've got a family there, you've got all around you, you've got a communal house where you can share meals, where you can share certain events. Once a week you have a sauna together. Once a week you might share a meal together. But this community is so closely knit, but yet you have your space. You have your 1 hectare paradise that it's your base that you can always come back to. Imagine the feeling. That's just, it's just so beautiful. And with your community you can do larger projects such as a communal business of aquaponics, or it could be growing some organic wheat, or it could be running a permaculture school, which in my case I would love to do. It could be a variety of businesses, and in fact the very communal businesses which are needed. We're not saying that we want to separate from money. We're very much part of this reality right now, so let's work with it. But the very communal business that glues the community together, because if you can do some things together, enjoy, and it's not such a lust, because you're not doing it alone. You've got friends, and you're putting energy together. There's somebody that can do that administration, there's somebody that can do the growing of fish, the teaching, another teaching, the construction. It's just, you've got a whole palette of colors, of these skills, these amazing skills in your community that you can choose from. The communal business is what pays for the communal house and some communal events, maybe some marketing that needs to be made to external world, so you can interact with external world and bring people over for workshops and seminars and retreats. So the communal business, just like in a co-housing community, even in a block of flats, a little sharing of meals once a week, and doing something together once a week, or playing some games together, really knits the community together. That's why we need the community. That although we create alone on our land with our families and we have that privacy, you have availability of your friends right around you, that you're not alone. And at the end of the day, or in the middle of the day, whenever you feel like, you go and have a great cup of tea or a glass of kombucha drink, and you just celebrate life. You enjoy yourself, you know, because in our world right now, we're all chasing the dollars. We're still carrying rocks. And let me tell you a story about rocks whilst I'm at it. Again, told by Anastasia, but a very truthful story I resonate with. So one of these high priests was sitting on this mound of rocks, you know, and there underneath him were these slaves that were carrying these stones to build the city. And they were like, you know, they were so unhappy, and he decided to come down and actually get dressed as one of these slaves and just investigate what's going on. And he understood that slaves will always be slaves, and they will never ever ever be happy and joyful. Not only that, the emperor and the pharaoh and the high priest were always had to build stronger armies to protect themselves from the riots of these slaves, because, you know, these people were unhappy, and that any opportunity they would take down the army, take down the people, so they could just escape free. So he, in deep contemplation, he called the pharaoh and he called other high priests onto the mountain. He said, I'm going to change the reality, the fabric of our reality for the eternity of history with these set of words. From tomorrow, all slaves are free. Everybody is free. They will bring rocks to the city, and in exchange we're going to give them a coin for every rock. And with this coin, with these coins, they're able to get shelter, food, and medication. The next thing, the other high priests and the pharaoh said, you are a demon. This is an act of a demon, because they understood what's going to happen. So they let go of all these slaves, they told them the new rules, and the slaves that were now free men, so they thought, started carrying these rocks. They were discovered wheelbarrows, they made contraptions, and he was standing on top of the hill. He says, look, they're inventing all these things just so they could get more rocks. They wouldn't even sit down to eat because they wanted to bring more rocks so they could get coins. So now there were people carrying in the queue, selling food in the queue. There were people medicating other people as they got sick because there was just no time to sit down because they just wanted to make more coins. And so the slavery has stopped. Or has it really stopped? Because all of us, we're still chasing the dollar, we're still carrying the coins, we're still carrying the rocks in exchange for the coins. I just want you to think, how about we stop carrying rocks and we start planting trees in our own garden, surrounded by community, with abundance of living biological systems that are self-regenerative. I mean, that word is really, really key here, because as you stand in your own home, you see how your paint is starting to chip off, you're seeing how your car is starting to degrade, you're seeing the wrinkles appear in your face. All around, we're actually surrounded by degeneration and entropy. You drive out into the city, there is smog, there is dirt on the walls, there is just misery. Entropy is what we're surrounded with. But when we were looking at the tree, when I planted this peach tree with my good friend John Zira, they were this size. Now this tree is 7 by 4 meters, about 3.5 high, carrying probably 1,000 peaches on it. I mean, that's just one tree. So I just put such a smile on my face looking at my wetland prop up, looking at my flowers come up, and whatever I get my hands to, and some things are self-seeding, like those nasturtiums are just getting bushier and bushier. There's a different feeling when you look into self-regeneration versus entropy. There's just a different vibe, there's a different resonance. So you would understand what I'm saying, looking at a car that's breaking from day one, literally after a year you've got to replace this, that and the other, and a tree that just gets more and more and more and more beautiful, more and more fruit. I mean, that's imagine looking at regeneration your whole life. How would that affect your psyche? How would that affect your everyday experience if self-regeneration and enhancement and biological beauty would surround you all the way around, 360 degrees, and you're living in this earthly home that got no debt, and you're surrounded by a community of like-minded friends? We got to experience it. It goes beyond words. We got to experience this feeling, because only then will you understand what I mean. I came recently from Russia. I went to visit a couple of eco-villages, and wow, it is happening. Look, don't get me wrong, there are still challenges, and the challenges I saw was the communities that don't have strong rules of acceptance. So they would say, if you read Anastasia books, you're welcome to come in. And those communities are really struggling. You need to have some rules, such as a really good rule would be that if you do acquire a piece of land, that you got to move on to it within a year. Because if you don't have that rule, people buy the land and just for in case, and they go back to the city, and then they arrive on the land for 2-3 weeks a year just to check that everything is all right. So your community is now standing 70% empty. Nobody else can buy the land because the land has been bought, and of course that's how the communities fold, literally. And then also notice those communities that don't have communal businesses or some form of communal tasks that they do together really are falling apart. So that's just the two things. But I will translate the set of rules from you. There is a really couple of amazing eco-villages that are started up already 10 years ago, and they're going quite strong, and I will translate for you a set of rules and send it to you in the near future. So when you start your own community, you can already take that as a groundwork and not trying to reinvent the wheel. So long time ago, when we had the wisdom of the biological self-regenerative eco-technologies, all derived from biological world, really we're able to do all the things and better than the current technological world was able to even fathom or dream. Such as we were able to teleport our bodies to another place on Earth, and we were able to teleport our minds to another place on Earth and even to other planets. And this got replaced by a 275,000 liter intercontinental flight. Yes, that is exactly how much a Boeing 747 takes in one intercontinental flight. I mean, I just realized that. I was like, wow. Our ability to project three-dimensional holograms with our mind got replaced by television, where they tell us their vision. Television. So that's what got replaced. And because of the high impact visuals that are coming out of TV, billboards, our senses are just overloaded. We're losing our abilities to teleport, to create holograms, or to even astral travel, which some of the people are able to do that. Outdoor dances and traditional games got replaced by video consoles and drug-infused clubs and discotheques. Cozy natural shelters that we're able to build in 3 to 4 months per home got replaced into these monstrosities that need heating in, cooling in, water in, sewage out, pile of waste out, and of course 25 years of debt and slavery to pay this mansion off. It's important to remember that our smaller homes had massive gardens, so we really were in home when the weather was horrid. Otherwise we would spend majority of our times interacting with the beautiful world all around us. Now we're staying in blocks of flats that have no garden and really big spaces that we can live in, but that's just not the way our Creator has designed for us to be from the beginning of time. The ability of children to learn from each other, such as in this school called Tekos, got replaced by iPad and computer institutions. Of course, we trust our teachers and governments to bring the best in our children. But do they really have the best for our children in mind? No. They are bringing drones to perpetuate their society. Everybody knows that. All over the world, including Russia. It's all over. The schools are bringing up drones and slaves that just shut up, pay taxes, and carry on putting into the system. Do we really want to do that? Or perhaps do we want to start building our own schools? That's why communities are so important, because when you're surrounded by 200-300 families, there is going to be a school that's going to be created by some of your own brothers and sisters within the community, and somebody's going to head spear that, and it could be your dream to do that or somebody else, but there will be a school. That's why we want the communities, because alone it's just impossible to create it all, and together it's much more fun. 1 + 1 = 11. +1 = 111. So we're really increasing ourselves exponentially when we join forces and community comes together as one living organism, but yet you have that individuality with your 1 hectare paradise. The good news is, it's all coming to an end. We are standing at the fork road right now. And I'll sound like a matrix. There's a blue pill and a red pill, okay? We either change our ways to embrace Mother Nature and cosmos and our Creator and choose a new path of communal living with Earth, with natural forces, with cosmos, together manifesting a new reality, or we continue on the technocratic current path and the technocratic way of life will end us. That is the choice. We either get killed by our own inventions, or we embrace nature, biology, our right brain. So we integrate all of this wisdom of the past and the present and create a magnificent future. So what did go wrong, you may ask? So if we really lived in these amazing biological thriving communities, what the hell happened? Well, as again Anastasia speaks of, and I truly resonate with that, human race as a whole, which make up our Creator experiences Himself, herself through us. All of us, we're all here, we're all one. So we're all one because we all come from the Creator, and our Creator is experiencing itself through us. So as a collective humanity, we have decided to experience the opposite side of the spectrum. We have decided to feel and see what is it like to really take to the dark force all the way. And to the dark force we have come. I mean, we have just lost Pacific Ocean to radiation and plastic. We have reached the bottom of the dark well. Going any further in that direction is going to be suicide for human race, and you know that to be true. We've got to turn around. We've got to find alternative ways. We've got to find alternative solutions, and I do not see any viable propositions than turning our entire planet into these 1 hectare paradises that you and your family maintain, GMO-free, pesticide, fertilizer-free, and you create this organic Garden of Eden, so unique to your design, to your family, to what your needs are, to your climate. Imagine if 50% of the Earth's surface was covered in these 1 hectare plots. You know, I think the Creator would actually fall off his chair, if there is a chair, and just have a tremendous, joyful laugh. If he or she would see such beauty going down with his children on earth. It would put a smile on a lot of our faces. That's an omen. So why are our cities so broken? And understand that I have spent the last 10 years getting this home completely off the grid. So I have really gone to the nth degree. 9 constructed wetlands, 120,000 litre eco pool, biogas digester, solar geyser, gas backup, multiple water storage, 200,000 litres of water storage on the property without tapping into borehole water, and it's all part of my abundance of water course. But really, after doing all of this, I have realized that there are 3 main reasons why our cities are broken beyond repair. Firstly, we're lumping 600 to 800 litres of literally clean bath water with 30 to 40 litres of sewage, which is pathogenic, much dirtier water with feces in it and other solids, and we're lumping it together and we're sending it down the toilet, down the drain in a 110 mil pipe away to a we don't know where land. But I know where this goes because my river stinks for 14 months. We just had a burst. We just had water coming out of my bath because that being the lowest house, the water actually started to rise again, and actually this time overflown into my bath. Sewage from our entire area. This is disgusting. We are shitting in our rivers, we're shitting in our oceans just because we cannot split that water. The houses up until today are still designed lumping grey water and sewage together. Grey water can be cleaned with a simple constructed wetland, which I actually teach you for free in my Abundance of Water webinar. You can treat the grey water with 1 square flow bin that costs you $30, a bunch of plants and a bunch of rocks. That's it. That water will be clean enough to take for your organic vegetables and even flush your loos with that water. That's simple. That's why I have taken the energy and the effort to teach you folk on how to create constructed wetlands. But that's just one of the problems. The other problem is that we have these energetic spots, these vortexes, these very powerful spots that are coming out of the earth, and because of the gridded up city, somebody will put a dump or a abattoir, slaughter animals on the very spot. It is just absolute madness. There is no connection to the land. Nobody gives a rat's ass, and people are just building. It's just urban sprawl is just going nuts. There is no conscience at all. The developers are building structures on the sick lines. They're putting bedrooms where harmful geopathic stress lines and vortexes are present, which we discussed in the second video. And people are getting cancer. There's 3,000 diseases that erupted in the last 30 years. I mean, gosh, can I tell you more? And it will get worse. How worse? Well, how about a massive solar storm causes a blackout in the whole of America for a month? Because when there's a month of no food, no water, you cannot flush your toilet, we're talking hell has arrived, and it is here. And that we are so close. In fact, our Creator with the sun are keeping it away from something like that happening, because they are excited for our eco communities to come forth and to show that we can do it. I tell you what, in the next 100 years, we're going to get a mass wipeout. Having lost Pacific Ocean to radiation in the last couple of years, we are asking for it on a large scale. So we do not want to talk about fear, we want to talk about solutions, but cities are going to get worse. More and more laws, more and more taxes, more and more polluted air, more and more polluted water, more and more degraded lands as they spray more and more fertilizer. So the lands that literally cannot grow anything without the fertilizer anymore. So the foods you're literally eating poison. You're eating poison, you're drinking poison, you're breathing poison, you're watching poison, and then you die at 60, a very sick person, and some make it to 90, a very sick person. That's another omen. So we don't want to go there. There is an alternative reality. And of course, the next reason why I think cities are broken is because we're just too close to each other. Sitting, for example, in a flat, if you are in a high density city, you've got a person 3 meters there, 3 meters there, 3 meters there, 3 meters there. You can pick up on 50 to 60 Wi-Fi spots around your flat. I mean, that's just insanity, you know. And our spiritual bodies, which are much bigger than our physical bodies, are literally overlapping. So when you can experience it when you come after a holiday in nature, where pristine nature, no people, and you come and your thoughts are so clear. You drive into the city and you're like, ah, you know, it's just like thoughts about this, that, and all this negativity is coming. You're like, where is it coming from? You need to understand these are not your thoughts. These are the thoughts that you're feeling from your next door neighbor and this stress guy and that anxiety guy. I mean, 2, 3, 4 hours spent on traffic. If you spend half of the time on growing food, you'll have a profitable business, all of your food, and you will have the rest of the time to really experience and be the creator that you are. Sing, dance, write poems, draw, create, sculpt with clay. Do whatever your heart desires. But this system has locked us up completely. And the longer you stay, the less energy you will have to move. So you have to hit the rock bottom, which I spoke of last time, to really give yourself a kick up the bum to get the hell out of this broken system. It's not going to get better. I'm sorry, but a little vertical garden on the side of the building is not going to fix 8 billion liters of sewage flowing through my river. Like they all claim eco this and green that, is not going to fix 8 billion liters of sewage going into this river. It's not going to do it, okay? And to replumb every single home in the whole world is going to be a good challenge. I'd say that's a really good challenge. I don't think it's going to be my challenge, but replumb 1 billion homes, that should be a motto. Whoever wants to head that on, I'll join forces and give whatever support I can. But literally, guys, it is broken beyond repair, and you need to understand that it's going to get worse. And I'm not driving fear into you, I'm just giving you the reality of it, okay? And the last main reason is that our banks, of course, are taking us for a total spin. They're using our signature and our physical bodies as collateral to raise money out of thin air. Because we're off the gold standard since the 70s, to raise money out of thin air and then put you in debt for the quadruple of that amount so you can pay your house off. That alone is very, very, very unfair procedure. And guess where they're investing their money in? In the most profitable thing ever, which is war and nuclear power and nuclear power stations. Yes, there is emergent eco-technologies that the banks are trying to green them with, but ultimately the biggest and the most profitable thing right now on earth is war. And that is where our governments are investing their money into. And whoever had something to say against that has been shot and killed, and their countries have been destroyed, such as Saddam Hussein, such as Gaddafi. They were great people, and America has bombed their own buildings to do that, to get into Iraq. Everybody knows that. They bombed their own Twin Towers. You gotta be a fool to still believe that somebody from overseas came and bombed those buildings. American military would never allow these planes to come within a 10-mile radius to the city. Okay, this is absolute bollocks. They did that situation, they imploded the buildings with explosives, and that's what happened, and that gave them permission to get into Iraq. So if you just start to understand what's happening on that level, and every single government except Putin, that's why they're washing his face in dirt so much, every single government is in bed with Americans because they have no choice. Because when you come into the presidency, an American hitman gets flown to a new country, or the president, and basically has this conversation. Listen, Mr. President, I've got, you know, 2 pockets here. You see these 2 pockets. Okay, in this pocket I've got $100 million and you can have whatever you want. You just dance to our tune. And in this pocket I have a gun with a bullet and your name written on it. And if you don't dance to our tune, we'll get you shot. That's the reality. That's what happens on the top level, and you just dig a bit deeper and you'll know that to be true. And I hope I don't get shot for presenting you with this information, because if I do get shot or I disappear, you know it's true. Okay? But enough about bull. But I just wanted you to be aware of what is really going on behind the scenes, and understand that intentional communities and kin domain villages and eco villages are the viable, thriving future, the only viable, thriving future that we have for us and our children and beyond. So what is the first step in this amazing new reality? It starts with a home. Now, I'd like to just take this opportunity to present to you my second online course, an Eco Dome Home. In our course, we'll be sharing a few methods of construction. I'll be giving you great detail in the email tomorrow, so watch out for that email. It's about our online course. It's really going to give you the ability and the strength and the wisdom and the practicality on to build your own home on the land from scratch without climbing into bed with the bank. A fully off-grid home with solar, wetlands, a little garden around, water storage, everything under $10,000 that you and your family can ground yourself on. And of course you can add on at later stage, but it'll be a cozy home to start with, and I'll be presenting you a full email about that information tomorrow, so look out for that. And in the meanwhile, scroll below. I really put a lot of energy to put this particular session for you, as you can see. So any of your comments or feedback, maybe you have a land that you would like to share with others, or have other investors come in, or you'd like to start a community. Maybe this will allow you to hook up with people with land and people who want to build community. Put there where you want to live, and or if you do have land, how big it is, and in which part of the world the location of your land is. Until then, I wish you to have a beautiful day, and may you be blessed, and may you start thinking about your new bright future and intentional communities. Namaste. Enjoy your day. Why is it that we feel so recharged when we're in nature, when we are surrounded by the beautiful forests, by the beautiful rivers, by clouds? We feel so rejuvenated and peaceful and relaxed. We forget about our worries, we forget about our anxieties. And what if we could be in the middle of our homes and feel like we are in the middle of the forest?